Hi, Gregg. Tim Motzi, Red 97. Thank you for taking the time.
Hey, Tim.
So third row game in a row, but it seems like one particular issue the team has had is that as soon as somebody comes into the midfield, last week it was giving Williams a first-team contract. Somebody else goes out with Guti's call-up. So, how are you dealing with those challenges, and how are you looking at the lack of consistency in the midfield and trying to solve that?
Yeah, at this stage, it kind of is what it is. And that's our attitude and mindset. Johnny Dean has a punctured lung. Andrew Gutman's been sick for the last 3 days, so we don't know about him. Guti's got a call up. Harold Osorio's got a call up. So we're just rolling with it. That's all we can do at this stage. It's really next man up mentality, and that's what the team's been living by so far this season. That's what we'll continue to do.
Alex Campbell from CHGO. So back-to-back come-from-behind victories. Obviously, in Dallas, it was a bit more condensed than it was in Toronto. But for both positives and negatives, what have you seen in these last two games that's similar, but particularly in how you've seen the team respond and then be able to, finish off those games?
I think we talked a little bit about this after the game in Toronto. It was actually 3 games in a row that we've come from behind, right? DC, we were trailing early also. And I think it shows the mindset of this group not to get rattled. When I think about the Columbus performance, it's probably our best performance in the first half of the year, but we definitely got rattled after they tied the score. And now we've seen a completely different attitude from the group, really able to deal with those moments. And I think that's what we're excited about. We're continuing to build, continuing to try to get better, but the resiliency in the group, the belief is strong. And that's important because we know we're not going to be dominating every game. There's going to be times where we have to suffer a little bit. And for the guys to be able to deal with that is important.
Gregg, La Fiera Deportiva. Knowing the rival Vancouver, they are undefeated. Nobody has beaten yet. But also with the call-ups of the 3 players forward from them, would it be a statement if the Fire go and play with them and beat them?
I think, Vancouver's been doing a great job this year. And you see, even when they rotate players like they have in the Champions League, they've still been able to play a good game. And, against Monterey, they played a different goalkeeper, a different forward for most of the game. They rotated some players through. But the collective is very strong. A lot of those players have been playing together for many years, so they know each other really well. And even though they're missing players, it's the same with all these teams. You got to continue to go, and I'm sure they're going to want to get a home win, and we're going to have to do something about it.
We'll take a few questions from Zoom. We'll start with Joe Chats on Tap Sports.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Gregg. Appreciate you taking the time. Gregg, I'm curious, expectations regarding the possibility of Romelu Kwame or Ethan Dillon-Borso possibly making their debuts this weekend, and just kind of expectations for them going forward.
Well, they'll be with the squad. We know that now. They're both still limited with minutes, but I think it's a positive that we'll be able to get them back into the group.
Noted. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Jim Alexander from Real Talker.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, big news for Ryan to be called up and get to play for the national team in a Nations League. But I wanted to know, for the club, how important is it for you to have players represent the national team? And who do you foresee sort of being the next player in line from this club that could make that call for the national team, or you're sure in that sense?
We're proud of Guti, to put himself in position to get called in. We know it's an important window for the national team, defending the Nations League title, and we wish them all the best tonight against Panama, and then hopefully in the final on Sunday. But we're certainly going to be cheering Guti on. we have a number of good young players that could work their way into, a position. When I think about Chris Brady, he's one that comes to top of mind because he's so young and he's played that many games, and we think he's got, still a ton of potential and a ton of room to grow. So we're excited definitely about him. I think Sergio Origales has a very good start to the season. Be interested to see how he continues to develop. And, we have a number of players within the club that are in the youth national team program, and hope that they keep progressing and eventually, can make it to the senior team.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Har from Vancouver.
Thank you. This is Har with Canadian Soccer Daily. We were talking with Sebastian yesterday at training, and I'm wondering how special is this match for you on a personal level to have a lot of family coming in. It's the first opportunity for your coach with Sebastian playing for the opposition team.
I think it's a fun moment. I'm definitely proud of him and how he's progressed in his career, and been able to to watch closely, obviously, in the last 5 years, and to see what type of player he's become is really nice. And I know it's down to his hard work and his mindset. It's kind of funny when you're scouting the opponent and you're watching the games, you're like, oh, that's a nice little midfielder. and it happens to be your son. It's kind of funny. And, sometimes you watch it from the wide angle, you're just seeing all this movement, but then, the familiarity of his movement and, watching him for so many years stands out. But it will be a nice moment. It's still a moment where, we want to win, and I know he wants to win. So something's got to give. But we'll be doing everything we can to get the win.
Do you have any fond memories that stand out from Sebastian's youth career?
There's a lot of fun memories, but I think, I coached him. My first coaching job was actually, I think, a U10 club team in California when I was playing for the Galaxy. I ended up coaching him in his first experience in club soccer. And I remember when he was, disobeying, I'd make him run laps around the field, and he would get so mad at me. We didn't have a lot of words on the way home from training. But then a really fun memory, I think, was, at Hammarby. I ended up, his coach got sick for Hammarby and ended up coaching his team in this mini tournament over a weekend. And we actually won the tournament. It was a great moment for the team and him personally. So it was a fun moment.
Thank you, Greg. Safe travels.
Thank you.
Tim Honsi again. So, we talked about some of the call-ups, and on one hand, it's good to see. On the other hand, it's, you're one of the few that has experienced both sides of, call-ups from both the club perspective as well as the national team perspective. Can you talk about the challenges of having to sort of, coordinate that at the last minute, both, as a club coach as well as a national team coach, trying to make sure the guys stay in the club situations that work for them?
To be honest, there should be no challenges because we shouldn't be playing in the FIFA window, right? I mean, if you think about Vancouver and us, like Vancouver's missing 3 or 4 players, we're missing some players. Ideally, you'd want that game to be played. They're undefeated. It would be nice if they had their whole group there, and same thing for us. But I don't agree with playing in the FIFA window. That's why they have FIFA windows, right? So teams don't play. But given, some of the stadium challenges that we have with dates, we have to do it. And, I'm not a big fan of it. I think it dilutes the talent on the field.
Alex Campbell again. Obviously, we have not seen him play yet, but you've got a chance to see him in training. How would you describe Romy Kouame as a player? What do you like about his game?
He's a very elegant player. I think very smooth dribbler, is able to dribble through lines. Good first touch, good combination play. Is able to defend 1v1. So he's a very interesting midfielder, and hopefully we, all the fans and you get to see him soon.
Thank you. We'll go back to Zoom for a question from Alex Calabresi.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Hey, Alex, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. If I may, another one about the international window. So Guti is going in last minute, as we know, I know that was mentioned before. Did you have any conversations with Pochettino regarding that, him going into camp at the last minute?
No, I did not. We got a notification that he could potentially be called in beforehand. So we knew that something may be coming, and then we got confirmation on Sunday.
Gotcha. And then one more, if I may, about Sebastian. I know this is your first time going up against him as a head coach. Have you had any conversations with him this week building up to the game, or have you just been focused on your own team?
No, I talk to him every day. So, of course, we had conversations. I think we're both professional enough that, there's not too much talk about the game. It's more about the restaurant we're going to go to after the game. But again, it's good. We will have family out there, and it'll be nice for them to see. And it's, I think, a nice moment for the family. I think to show, that when you work hard, you put yourself in position for things like this. And, we're all really proud of him and what he's been able to do.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and good luck.
Thank you.
One more from me. So speaking about hard work paying off, we've seen a number of academy players kind of work their way into the first squad. We had 5 starting last game. You talked about the next man up mentality. Can you talk about sort of like what the growth that you've seen from already, like the squad players coming up, and what you're seeing from the group of people that are, a lot of whom were here before, but some of whom you've added and signed in the past couple months?
Yeah, we still have a lot of work to do throughout the organization to continue to develop high-level players. Chicago is a fantastic area of talent, and there's a ton of players throughout MLS, throughout the history of MLS, from the Chicagoland area. And it's our job to develop them into top players and players that can perform on the field for Chicago Fire, and hopefully at the next the international level. So I think this is the beginning stages of it. I think there's been good work in the academy. We want to continue and even amplify that even more, and have individual development programs for all these players, have a clear pathway for all these players, and really show them that it's possible. Right? I mean, Sergio Origal, he's a smart soccer player, technical soccer player. He's been developed well, and now he gets the opportunity to show what he can do. And that's what you want to show these kids, is that if you put in the work and you develop, there is a pathway for you.
Joe Schatz, do you have another question? Your hand is still up.
Yeah, I do. If you don't mind. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Greg. Greg, just with Johnny being suffering that punctured lung, I assume Leo Barroso will slide into that role. And I'm curious, what's your challenge to him now that he's had a short run off the bench with some success, longer run off the bench with some success, and now a potential starter where you would like to have some success?
No, I mean, I think it's ideal the way the last couple of games worked out, knowing that, Johnny went down, that he got some game time in Dallas and scored a goal, had an assist against Vancouver and played the majority of the game. And now, he'll get another opportunity in Vancouver. And, he's been doing well. He's been doing well all the preseason. Very dynamic player, very good 1v1 defender. We have Justin Reynolds as well, who can slot in. So, we have 2 players in the fullback position right now, and hopefully that will increase as we move towards Saturday.
Got it. Thank you so much. Safe travel.
And Alex, last question to you. I see your hand is still up.
Yeah, thank you. Coach, I have one more relating to the academy. We've seen a more aggressive approach with the second team and signing players to the second team. Brody Williams, one of the top prospects in the country, just signed. I wonder if you have anything to say about him coming onto a second team contract.
That's the type of profiles we want in our second team. I think I've said it before to you, Alex, is that we want guys that can make it to the first team and that have big potential. And Brody, I think, is an example of that. Just turned 15 years old, ton of potential. Is going to continue to work through the academy, play sometimes with the second team throughout the next years, and then hopefully in a short time we see him in the first team. But, a lot of potential, and it's up to us to help develop him.